Welcome to the Fitness Queens podcast, empowering your mind and sculpting your body. Join your hosts, multiple fitness world champions, Alicia Kyrgios and Stephanie McHugh, as we explore all things female health, training, competing, mindset, and living the fitness life every day.
Okay, welcome everybody to the latest edition of the We Fitness Queens podcast with my beautiful co-host, Stephanie McHugh.
Hello, everyone, and hello, my beautiful Ali. How are you feeling? Oh my gosh, I feel like it's already been too many weeks since I've seen you.
But large and in charge, lady. Large and in charge. Like, actually, though, we're coming into the 34th week, so we literally, as of Wednesday, we're only 4 weeks away from going into hospital and having the C-section and having her, right. And
oh my gosh,
it is in the last 2 weeks that I'm just really noticing she's growing, I'm expanding, you just feel heavy, achy, all your abs. It's like, yeah, it's
feeling all the things.
Yeah, all of the things. And I think I was actually at the doctor's yesterday and I was explaining to her how different some of the things I'm feeling are this time with her versus with George. And I'm feeling things I didn't feel last time. And we think it's probably because these two have been quite close together and also that it was a C-section, right? So even though I had rehabilitated and everything was good before I went and had the, next pregnancy start, it was still a situation where, you're cutting through all this muscle. You're still going to have
absolutely
elements of, there's scar tissue, there's still healing processes, a level of weakness there. So, yeah.
You're barely healing and recovering.
Basically, I don't know how women that I know have pumped out 4 under the age of 5 back to back. I don't know how everything's still hanging in.
They're machines. We are made to do this. So all power to women that have multiple children.
100%.
Oh yeah. God. I admire all of you, honestly. I just watch my clients that go through pregnancies and then like the postpartum part. And I actually, one of my poor clients actually pushed a little bit too hard and actually ended up, with a little bit of some, like how do I say it? Diastasis recti.
Diastasis recti. So where she has the ab separation. Yeah. Did she need surgery?
No, it didn't get to the point where it's that severe. It's just like, what, you're pushing it and you didn't listen. You're, trying to go back into core work and you're rushing back into doing loaded, obviously work onto the core. And as we always preach, and I haven't been through this myself, but it's like, hey, I know, of course, the timeline and how we should approach this, but you're definitely, already can tell you're
too much too soon.
You're doing too much. And just got that message this week. It's like, oh no, I think I might, I got diagnosed. My doctor's kind of like seeing a little separation. Yeah. Let's cut back. And I mean, these are the things that you always even mention. It's like the number one thing of recovery of postpartum.
Got to be careful. And even now in my training schedule and the way I've been approaching training, there are things that have now come off the table for me and things that have been adjusted and alternated in this last, what would have been, I started my new program about 6 weeks out from birth. So it's literally going to be my last 6-week block before I go into a 6-week completely off phase post the C-section. But in this block, there are certain things that definitely got modified and I'm no longer capable of, I looked at all my data actually just yesterday, because you guys know what I'm like, I'm a data freak. And I looked at
data, guys.
just even my polar, assessment of where, my calories burned and my heart rate were, because I'm trying to make sure that I'm not under eating at all on any given day for her growth. So I'm keeping a track of what I'm actually expending. And obviously, because my movement has decreased a little bit, I'm noticing the changes. I'm noticing, the same level of output's not, it's not as intense on my heart rate anymore. I'm not able to push it like I was. Looking at all my numbers, I was still progressively loading up until probably about 14 days ago. And now I'm just literally maintaining at a weight that feels relatively comfortable, no doming, because I'm constantly checking the abdominal separation for any kind of doming through it. And then it's about just adding where I can, maybe an extra rep or so rather than load. because any kind of additional load at this point in time is way too much pressure on the abdominal area and way too much doming happening. So it's been super interesting. But this is good for anyone that is listening to this, that's going through pregnancy, about to go through pregnancy, or is even coming out the other side of it postpartum now, is you really should be looking at these things at every phase and every trimester, reassessing where things are at. And I'm just doing a constant little check on things, even in every session, you know, like I will physically put a hand on the movement patterns where I can onto the actual separated points to make sure there's no doming coming through. I have a proper structure and setup for pelvic floor and core sitting of the abs before I even initiate a lift. There's a whole bunch of things I'm thinking
about. Tips, Sally. That's awesome information.
And because this is so close to George, what we did notice is that I have, and I know I talked about this on a previous episode, a little bit more separation earlier with her, and it's like higher up at the top of my abdominal and then right around the belly button. And she's not aggressively bigger at all by any stretch of the imagination than George was, and I'm not massively different in size in my stomach. I'm probably on par, but because, like I said, it's a back-to-back, you do get that like it is
your body is your body is actually
kind of still recovering.
Feeling it. Actually, what I was imagining, after everything you're saying here, it's kind of like, you know, the competitors when they're going through multiple preps, like multiple preps in a year, they can't really recover in here. Their immune system gets affected. I mean, we obviously can't really heal and recover. Our ligaments start really getting suffered as well. So our joints feel like crap. I feel like a rusty, just old, you know, just clunky person, and that's because we normally are just not healing. In your case, you really had a small gap in between.
If it has been
like back to back, and you're back at it.
Look, as we've talked about, you know, this is my second rodeo, if you know what I mean, and this is my literal forever family. And I wasn't blessed with finding that person that was my forever person in my early 20s. So I'm doing this at the next chapter in my life, where most people would be like, man, I thought doing that a long gone. Here I am just going through.
I know. This is what I love.
The time was not on my side.
Story. Your story. I mean, it's just one of those that moves, because so many people just already label, okay, this era is over. I can't do this anymore. Or it's, you know, too late just to even have a family, and or to find my person, right? Like, I think it might have been even time where you were just maybe thinking, this is not going to be, I'm not in the dating, you know, realm, and I don't want to find anyone else. Or it's not like you don't want to find them, you just don't think you're going to anymore. That's
it. A lot of women think, if I haven't already found them by the time I'm like mid-30s, and it's never going to happen.
Or even 40.
And I'm like, well, I don't necessarily agree with that. I think, you know, your person is going to find you. You're not necessarily always going to find them when you least expect it, right? And
one of the most beautiful relationships was actually a couple that didn't meet until their late 50s, and it was just one of they both have a long life, and they just met, just within circles, right? Like circle of friends, like just interconnected. And it was one of the most beautiful things, like watching them relive, if they were 20 years old, I'm like, this is the love. And this is the kind of aspiration that I think a lot of people lose in life, as far as finding romance again. And it's like, you can actually be in that romantic relationship at 60 years old. Like, this is what I witnessed from them. And I'm like, you guys are seriously the most adorable couple I've ever, came across, because they act, like they're just so fresh, and they still treat each other like if they were 20s or meeting each other. So there's a lot of hope, and there is going to be.
To be completely honest, like, I don't even look at my situation and go, I feel like I've left it late. I don't even feel like, well, for starters, I still feel like I'm 18 most days. Like, and that's not even, if I'm honest with you, I don't even feel anywhere near my age physically. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not, I don't have any signs of any joint issues. I've got no arthritis. I've got no health conditions. I've got, like, I still feel like I am capable of executing everything like I used to execute in my early 20s. Like, I don't feel restricted by anything. So it's like, why would this really affect me, you know? And it hasn't, but it's interesting to see these back-to-back pregnancies differences, because it's the body showing me that, hey, you know what, this magnificent thing we do is actually quite stressful and quite taxing, and there is probably a need for a little bit more recovery, but time wasn't on my side, so we couldn't. And it is what it is. I didn't get to do my decade apart babies like I normally would.
But you know, that's what we anticipate. Sometimes you think you're going to plan out, okay, this is my plan, and that's just not how your plan goes.
Exactly.
But you're going in, and guys, everywhere across the world, we're going into the holidays, and you're going to be having a little downtime during these holidays now. So you're going to
so
a little
forward to it.
Yeah, like a little less not movement as much as as less taxing movement, right? So for you, you're going to be much more in maintenance, which is a great place to be. I think it's really a nice.
Gonna be trying to hold on to, you know, the mass that I've got leading into birth, so that when I come out and I've got that 6 weeks where I'm unable to actually lift anything, then I'm not wasting away, you know what I mean? And then I don't get to the other side of it and go, oh my gosh, you know, I've got nothing left, which can be a real thing. So, you know, we actually thought today coming on and talking about tips for surviving the holidays was a great topic of conversation for the podcast, because you are right, Steph. There is an opportunity for a lot of people here to have, you know, a really joyful holiday, but it can also bring all these challenges, especially in terms of health and wellness, right?
All the questions. I think the number one question that I get is like, how do I eat my meal plan during the holidays, or how do I stay on course, you know, with my nutrition? I think that's probably the most asked, you know, frequent question. And, you know, I think people really do get obsessed. I remember years ago, I read this quote that it just hit me, and it made me laugh so hard. And it's still to this day, it just hits, because, I mean, people are always so worried about what they eat between, you know, Christmas and New Year's during the holidays, when in reality, they don't really care about what they eat between New Year's and Christmas. And it's like, you know, you need to actually check yourself and worry about what you eat between the New Year and the Christmas date, rather than, oh, what do I do? Crash diet? You know, like, what do I do to fix my next 2 weeks or my last 3 weeks of the year? It's like, guys, you don't need to stress so much. Be present. Like, don't get me wrong. We're
it's so funny, but it's so true, right? And we do see this stuff. And, you know, look, navigating social events are 100% probably the thing that give most people anxiety, because they're like, all right, well, I'm going into this complete free for all and I have no way to control it. Or, hey, they're just really honest, and they know that every year for their, you know, work function, they are going to literally be white girl wasted, throwing up in the gutter out the front, hoping their Uber driver turns up and lets them in the car, right? Like, they know that it's going to be like that. And I've got so many clients who will actually physically tell me, hey, you know, I'm going to be sideways for 3 days. You know what I mean? Like, and they'll have that conversation.
I love the honesty.
Yeah,
I love
exactly.
Honest clients.
Exactly.
Honestly, I do too.
Exactly.
It's like, and, you know, it's going to be one of those weeks. It's like, oh, please eat protein. It's like, can we at least eat protein, man?
And I think that it's literally just understanding and getting really honest with yourself. So I always say to them, hey, I much prefer knowing that one work function that we know is going to literally be, you know, complete headache and hangover for the next 3 days, that we're aware of that. Like, I'd rather know that than tell me, hey, I'm going to go and I'm going to have 2 drinks and then I'm not going to have anything else. And then you wake up 2 days later in some random place going, I don't even remember my name. You know, like, I'd much rather you not blow your expectations out the water and instead be like honest and say, hey, you know, I'm going to be actually completely free for all on that evening. And then you can structure the rest of your week so that you minimize the effects of the alcohol abuse and you also recover faster, right? So I think number one is be honest about what you've got on and what you're going to actually do. So where is the hair going to be let down the most, at which events, and what does that look like? With honesty, like an honest stock take of what it's going to look like. And then I think it's setting some boundaries around everything else around it. Do you know what I mean? Like, you don't need to go for the free for all at every single potential invite you get, but you might just choose one event where you know you won't be just having a single drink, you'll be having a bottle, you know, and be honest about that. Because I think
you already know, Ali. I'll tell you, it's going to be a little more about a bottle of wine tonight rather than just a glass. And I think it's the best way to put it. It's like planning ahead. So our first tip is plan ahead. Look at what you're going to be dealing with. Are there multiple events? Which one is maybe more of a work, type of event or family gathering, or is it going to be like just your really intimate friends where you might let loose and you might go crazy, like Ali is saying? You have those group of people that you tend to maybe be a little bit more, chill with, and maybe just eat a little bit, and others you'd maybe drink more and socialize with and go out with. So it's understanding kind of what you're walking into, and then strategically planning maybe your meal ahead of time. If there is going to be some foods already that are going to be there, if there's going to be alcohol present, on understanding the nutrition labels and knowing your sugary type of alcohol versus some that are essentially a little lower calorie and lower sugar. So understanding kind of what's a better alternative.
And I also think too, when you're looking at this, just take a quick mental reflection on where you're at in the year. Like, do you have some impending deadline and goal where it's imperative that you meet a weight target or a performance objective or, a physical aesthetic goal? Because if you don't, then it takes the pressure off somewhat. And I think it gives you some sort of freedom and flexibility to look at this with a more balanced mindset too, where you don't go, I'm going to throw the baby out with the bathwater and I'm going to eat 900 calories every day for the next 10 days so that I can have 5,000 calories on my one day, and do dumb shit like that, because you don't need to.
Damage control.
Exactly. My point is there should be no risk and reward based strategies applied to this time of the year. There should just be a set of, logical level reasoning to sustain some balance and to just have a bit of a strategy about where you're going, what you're doing, and to what limit you're going to take things to, right? And my number one thing would be, if you are in fact in a position where you have some restriction on you because you do have a deadline or a goal or a competition or some sort of sporting event right around the corner, then I would 100% discuss with maybe your loved ones, and maybe even round table it with people that, in your inner circle. How do you actually decline an invitation? Like, where do you decide what what invitations are good for you? What ones can you accept? Maybe have a threshold on the number you accept, so you can still have some flexibility at least 1 or 2 or 3 of them, but you don't go to all 50 that you get invited to. And then know, how am I going to let these people down without feeling guilty or FOMO for doing so, right? So I think that's probably the next thing I would talk about when it comes to, understanding your goal, where you're at, and then understanding where you're going to actually let your hair down and by how much. Go that one step further and go, if it's relevant for me, how do I let people down and decline an invitation? Because I find a lot of people really struggle with this, and it's a case of, I just can't say no. What do you mean you can't say no? Yes, you can. But
you can.
How do you go about it would be the question.
This is actually very common, even I think across the year. It's not just at the holidays, right? Like when you get invited for anything, and it's like you don't know how to say no and have those boundaries. And I think that it really does come down to people pleasing and probably feeling the need to make them happy, and you're not caring about how you're going to feel afterwards, which might be guilty, might be overfed, overdrink, all the things, so you might just need to kind of really check. And Ali, you said it so well. It's, don't lie to yourself, and just really be real about understanding the people, the settings, and maybe where your triggers are. And it's okay. I learned so much about myself at every event, even till this day. No matter where I go, I can pre-plan and ahead of time, I'll already have some just quick things behind my head, just in case, like plan A, plan B, plan C. alternative.
I love it.
In case they don't have wine, what else would I drink? Because if they don't have the wine that I normally would go for, like a Cabernet, then I'm going to probably go for like a vodka, right? Like, but if they don't have vodka, what am I going to do here, right? I'm like, well, I really don't care for beer. I'm like, I really don't, so I would have probably just gone to like a mocktail if they had something that was low calorie or low carb, right? Like, but this is my like actual totem pole here, so this is depending on the event. So this is just alcohol related. I think most of the people are usually stressing about the foods. So a good example I find is being able to take your own dish. That is a good way to be able to participate and not feeling like enabled to say, yes, I'm coming to your party and have to eat everything that you're, having. So this way you can kind of mix in some, maybe more nutritious meals, and maybe even with the alcohol too, you bring some to the event. But in order to say no, I think it really does come down to you truly just, it doesn't mean make an excuse, but being real with them and saying, I'm currently with the goal of, maybe a competition, or, I have this event that I am really planning and getting physically ready for. So it's really important for me to not be in this setting. So I apologize that I can't participate this time, but I'll love to come next time. Thank you for inviting. And I would love for you to still invite me next time. Please don't, right? Like you're not, people are fearful of, if they say no, that they're not going to be invited next time. And that's not, people don't understand you have goals and that you actually have, discipline, because that's some good discipline right there. And if most people will respect it. I think
so too. And I think over the years, I've found that, the more honest, upfront and open you are about a situation, the better received it is. Right. And at least then it's not the situation where you're like, oh, I'm unwell or I can't come because of this. You see your Instagram story and like, that bitch, she's out doing so-and-so, or I just saw her in her garden doing so-and-so.
Yeah, it's so true. Just tell them you've got to go to the competition. Exactly. You can blame it on your coach. Honestly, I always tell my clients too, blame it on me. Like, just tell them that I told you to stay in.
It's Stephanie's fault. She said I can't go.
I can't go. She said I have to stay in and follow my plan. So.
And look, I think that you're right. I think that with social settings, especially around the festive season, it comes down to the twofold and actually triple threat to people is sometimes they don't have access to a gym, depending upon where they're holidaying, where their family's staying, if they're, on an island, on a beach, in a remote location. Then you've also got the shutdown periods that happen inside of, a lot of commercial gyms across those, respective public holidays. And then you've got excessive food in family settings, they can't say no, and then add on the alcohol. So it's the triple threat of less movement to no movement. How do I control that output? And then on top of that, overconsumption, excessive food intake, and alcohol to boot. So I think not only getting a side of, okay, these are the events that I'm going to choose to drink and lay my hair down on, so then you know what that event looks like, then setting up the scene for, okay, and then for the rest of the events, this is what the food will look like. These will be my rough options. These are the ones where I'm actually going to let, myself indulge, and I'll have desserts, or I'll have this, or I'll have that. These are the ones where I will stick relatively to plan, and I can do so. And I think, again, knowing those, environments, settings, and also understanding, venue, if it's a particular, social event where it's actually being catered to, then knowing what that catering will be helps. If it's a family event, then I think Steph hit the nail on the head. Take food. Just take stuff. Prepare stuff. Take stuff that's like a healthy alternative to a traditional dish, so everyone will enjoy it, but where you still know what's in it, right? And then you can still, what I always say to my athletes is this, you can then choose your dishes. If you take something that would be an entree, something that would be a main, and something that would be a dessert, you know what's in all of them. If you have, say, 2/3 the serving of your own dish, you've got that 2/3 control, then you can still taste everything else minimally to make up the rest of your plate. And I always work, when it comes to this time of the year, on the My Plate guide, where it's like, just have one plate. You don't need to go back for 5. and don't fill it so that it overflows like,
just the top, like a mountain.
Yeah.
Buffet style.
Exactly. And think, fist size protein, half a plate of veg or salad, a quarter of your plate is going to be carbohydrate or grain. And then you can have a little bit of dessert, like if you just approach it like that,
by then. Yeah.
You're quite safe. So
yes,
I think
you will.
Yeah. Take your own dishes, make those healthy alternatives to traditional dishes, and approach the plates as a my plate setting rather than just freaking out because you don't have a scale. And
let's just add a whole bunch.
I don't have a scale, so stuff it. I'll start the diet tomorrow, because I don't know how many times we hear that too.
Oh, especially after the holidays, right? I think that's actually, I really, really think that's the most common thing I hear is, oh no, I don't want to start right now because it's the holidays Christmas. And I'm not going to commit 100%. And it's like, okay, if you're already telling yourself this, you're setting yourself up for failure. Because if you're letting your mind actually think that you can just do whatever from now until the new year, you're going to set yourself up to have the worst January, because that's why you're going to fail, because you're going to not see results. You're going to feel like this is just too hard. I'm going from a massive surplus to now a cut, which is what most people technically do. It's like going into just eating lettuce and no carbs. And it's like, you just came from eating the most highest calorie dense foods, and you expect yourself to succeed on a low carb or no carb diet. No, this is why you're not able to sustain, obviously, your, just your program, or even, a few weeks on end. So when we're really thinking this way, we have to shift our mind going into, this next few weeks, not just, let's say, your events. If we're just nailing the events, then we might leave that other 75% on the table that might have a lot of issues too, which might be the snacking and all these, like, God, here in America, Ali, I can't even stress to you how much fucking like dessert,
what actually nails people in America,
peppermint mocha.
I was just gonna say, the thing that nails people in America is it's all the liquid calories, because all of a sudden you guys have all of the eggnog, ginger,
talk about the pumpkin spice and the gingerbread.
It's like you have all these creamy, thick,
sugar-filled, baby,
yummy drinks that just get forgotten to be tracked, that add about 500 to 800 calories extra to the day. It blows my mind.
It blows my mind. It really, and going back to the plate analogy that you were giving them, and as an example, I just recently went for, just a dinner to a Brazilian steakhouse, which is essentially like all you can eat steak.
I love it.
But with a salad, like a salad bar that you can, all you can eat as well. Let me tell you, even though it's healthy food that is given to you there, I left feeling like shit. I was like, why did I do this to myself? Like, why do people set you up to do this? Like, buffets should be banned. Like, they should honestly be banned everywhere, because we just overstuff yourself. You actually think you're a garbage disposal, and you like stuff yourself and just eat and eat until even when your body says, I don't want to eat no more, you're like, but you need to eat. So you keep stuffing yourself. And this brought me back to why I wanted to talk about the holidays, because I find that when these, weeks come, we start stuffing the pantry, we start stuffing maybe from Thanksgiving here in America, we have all these leftovers. Everyone's just eating their leftovers for weeks on end, it feels like, even though you're, you know what I'm saying, you cook in these massive, casserole types, and next thing you know, you're trying to feed a family of 10 and it's only 2 people in your house. So it's like, what are you doing?
So true.
I'm just giving you what happens here during the holidays. And then we tend to, of course, lose a little bit of the activity. It gets colder here. We're in winter months. I'm freezing, as you can already tell. I'm like in a freaking flush jacket here. So it's really about movement, overeating, and not setting yourself up to have structure around protein. And I was actually not kidding when I say, when my clients go on the deep end, when they maybe, don't really eat enough and they're just maybe drinking or partying, it's like, look, if you can at least sustain yourself with eating protein and getting all these other liquid calories in, at least your body's going to withhold itself. It's not going to go into this, honestly, like, oh my gosh, I'm going to wither. Like, you feel like you're withering. right? Like your bones feel even frail when you go into those, you know, 100%. Just chronic episodes. So really trying to prioritize your protein. So going into the next tip is really helping you to look at your plate and say, maybe you didn't take a dish, maybe you didn't, you know, cook anything, and you just went to grandma's or to aunts or someone, and they did all the cooking. So you just want to go to protein first. Go and stuff your plate with more protein. If you're going to eat a second plate, maybe, you know, you're not American. I mean, you're not Australian, you're American, and you're used to seconds and you're used to thirds. Then just go for the plate with more protein, and then fill it up with some carbs, and leaving the dessert for last. Like actually how you should, because some people I'll notice will go for that pumpkin pie, or, you know, straight to the cheesecake. And like, don't get me wrong, I freaking love cheesecake, but that's actually the reason why I'll take a cheesecake to where I'm going. If I'm going to like a holiday like that. Because I want to eat it. I'm like, I don't want to be staring at this cheesecake and it's calling my name. So I want to like be able to participate. So I'll take, so this is a good example for my listeners here. It's like, if you're, you know, already aware of how bad a cheesecake context of nutrition is, it's nothing but fat and carbs and sugars, right? What I would do is replace the cream cheese from it being all whole cream, right, to actually a either fat-free cream or a low-fat cream cheese. You can add protein. You can add like a vanilla protein, or like an oatmeal or pumpkin spice kind of an oatmeal, protein powder, and literally just some almond milk. You add maybe even, I'm telling you how to make my pumpkin low-fat cheesecake. I add like a half little pumpkin puree can, and literally once you blend it and you add a little bit of Splenda as, you know, your sweetener, or you can do monk fruit, or a sweetener that's not all the freaking refined sugar. And gosh, you get an incredible consistency. You put it in the fridge and okay, here you go. You can, you know, make some graham cracker crust, or you can get a low fat one that's already pre-made, already macro friendly. I can literally track that whole cake, the whole thing. And you can even start it's a really easy conversation piece, by the way, at your event, because now you're telling everybody, I want you to have, you know, a piece of my cake here. It tastes, I mean, maybe it tastes just like the full cream one, but you'll be shocked how many people you convert over to think, maybe this is a really good alternative. Thank you for giving me a little bit of help tip and inspiring me to maybe make a change back home, because I do think that people forget that when you do something good and you do something healthy, even though it gets criticism from some people, it's going to actually spark motivation and inspiration for others. And you don't know who is looking at you and saying, wow, they actually brought a cake and it actually tastes good. Like, oh my gosh, maybe I should try. I'm going to start trying to do this. And it makes a change, and you're changing people's lives. And I know I'm kind of going a little deeper there, but it all can start from a cheesecake.
It puts a totally different spin on a cheesecake for me. Like, oh my God. But you're so right. And I think that, you know, look, it's not just about stepping into a social space and talking about the things you can't do. It's about taking into the social space alternatives, right? And then guiding people into a new direction. And, you know, one of the things that I always talk with people about is creating space for activities. So, you know, when you're stepping into this environment too, instead of it being about just literally sitting on a deck chair with a can full of some alcoholic beverage in your hand and plates after plates of food, maybe encouraging people to get up and take part in something, whether or not, you know, like in Australia, we're hot in Christmas and it's like blisteringly hot, right?
So weird.
It's horrible. And we will literally do like beach cricket and everything's usually, you try to get as close to the water as you can. So it'll be like beach volleyball, beach cricket, beach soccer. It'll be in a park somewhere.
You guys are more fit than us.
Yeah. Like do you know what I mean? We try to get some activities going, and, you know, some great things to play is like, you know, there's like frisbees in the park. There's so many different things you can do, but even just getting out with the kids, if you're in an environment where you got cousins, nieces, nephews, your own kids, getting like, you know, we have like the Nerf guns, the big water pistols and stuff, and playing like water fights, getting in and out of pools, like running around after them and getting them active.
So there's snowball fights here, Ali. Like there's snowball fights, and we have people that are they're called snowbirds trying to get away from the snow and try to go to the beach. So they're called snowbirds, literally trying to flee the north to come to the south, because we're in the south.
Finding those things, right, where relevant to whatever your weather dictates, where you're doing things, and it might not even be that you're outdoors doing things, but you might do something indoors that's still active, you know, and even just, oh my God, getting up.
Way more board games here, just in the holidays.
Board games, exactly, like whatever you want to do, but
dominoes,
movement, and it not just
there's no movement in these board games. I'm sorry, I'm like, Ali, you guys really do have a really cool Christmas, because I mean, we really can only do maybe some, like, if you go skiing and snowboarding and you're at an actual ski lodge or like a resort like that, or you go to your own outside and create your own like street kind of slide with all the kids and stuff. So no, there's really not, I mean, activities to do outdoors, but there are things already like made to do indoors, like a Top Golf setting. Like, I'm not saying that that's something that you want to take.
And don't you guys have like the virtual games? So where you can do like
things that you can do. Games, there's like, things you can do. Yeah. But if you're talking about activity, like let's say actual activity, I would say maybe even just shopping. I'm not kidding. Like I know I revert back.
Just movement shopping in general.
It's moving. It's like being able to go out and being able to take some steps, because it is pretty chilly. I mean, really, really cold in the north. I mean, these people are below zero.
I know. Terrible.
Like really lucky right now. We're not. I mean, I was bitching and it barely got below 50s, and I'm like, oh my God, it got so cold. But it's of course very cold up north right now, and we're starting to get some of the winter by entering January and February. We get extremely cold. We actually get more of a frost, and we don't have any mountains, so we don't have any protection from the wind, so that makes everything that much colder here in Texas. But yeah, no, winter is really about cozying up, and which is why I find that most people layer up and like to, you know, of course, kind of hide themselves, which is, I've taken advantage of that. I really do. I think that the winter is a good time, you know, to be able to do your building season and to be able to kind of have those layers here in America. It's probably opposite for you guys. You guys, you know, are in bikinis and stuff. It's probably like
next to nothing the whole time.
So probably not the ideal time, but I do think that having, you know, your body created now for the summer, so it's opposite for you guys. It would be, you know, in the summer you're building that winter body. That's so weird. Here we're, you know, building that summer body in the winter. So if you know, are in a building phase, use the food, you know, capitalize on it, and go get stronger, lift heavier. You know, you're in a surplus. Just still, you know, use that extra fuel and facilitate it, you know, for hopefully some muscle growth if you're training right. So 100%. If you can, you know, channel what zone you're in of your year, if you're in a building or if you're in a cut or you're in a maintenance, then you can strategize how much budget and, you know, you might have with your, you know, events after you've kind of dictated which ones might be worth going to, which ones you're going to stay on plan. Some of the tips that when like I go out to an event and I know I'm going to have maybe a meal item, I'm not really quite sure what it's going to look like. And I think this is where people are like, but I don't know what's going to be on the menu, or I don't know what they're going to serve. It's going to be a lot of different options. So then I'll actually reduce my meals for that day. And I'll, you know, work my whole week around it. So it's really like what you were talking about. Like if you know you're going to have a really big meal, like for myself, I might have less carbs and fats earlier on in the day, and I'll just keep eating a little more higher protein, low carb meals leading into this event. So it might look like 5-6 meals is now reduced to 3 to 4 meals, because I might have just only had 2-ish or maybe even 3 leading into this event. And I might have had that big meal in the evening or midday, depending on kind of when that setting was. And then whatever this really turns out to be, I learn how my body also responds the following day. Sometimes your hunger just increases tremendously. Your metabolic rate starts like freaking going through the roof, and you're like, oh my God, I'm like a freaking hunger, like just ravenous, and I just can't control this. Then this is when I find a lot of individuals will tap into that, right? And they'll just keep eating for days on end. So it's like they keep that same cycle for lots of days. and they don't shut off. So it's like I revert right back to my normal, let's say, meal schedules. Yeah, my following day, because it's normally not 2 days of events. You're making yourself do this for multiple days on end. So if you have a Christmas party, it's not like you're having 5 back-to-back Christmas Day parties, so just, go through it. If you fuck up, it's fine. Just go back to eating your normal deals. Don't do damage control. Don't go do all this crazy 900 calories like you were talking about, Allie.
Oh my God, I've seen it and I've heard it. I've heard worse. So yes,
2 hours of cardio or whatever you think
food banking. No food banking. But I think too, one of the things I do want to touch on, which is just absolutely unrelated to training and food, but will lead to behavioral and emotional fueled behaviors, is handling situations with family that might be difficult. So, where you're in that situation where everyone has that one uncle or that aunt or that mother or that something that literally drives them crazy, always has a really inappropriate comment, will have unwanted, opinions and advice for you, and will always have a way of making you feel like whatever you're wearing or how you physically look right now is a problem.
You probably already thinking of that person's name right now. I know you're thinking of someone's name right now.
I guarantee it's going to happen. I guarantee there's always someone in every household. And I think that just recognizing that that's going to be potentially something on the cards for you and navigating it with a little bit of preparedness is probably key, because
emotional intelligence,
the way you topics are always going to come up around family gatherings, and you cannot always avoid them, right? So what advice would you give anyone on that regard? Especially because there's always someone that has something snide to say, right? In some way, some form.
And I'm actually one that has a very reactive person. So, it's hard to kind of ask me, because I'll sometimes say something back and it's like, well, maybe I shouldn't have said that. And then I bite my tongue because I am very reactive. And sometimes I, have to keep, my thoughts to myself. And I think that that's exactly what I'm thinking when the individual is telling me what they're thinking. I'm like, you should have just kept that thought to yourself. The same way.
Inside voice. Inside voice only.
Yeah, it's like, man, gosh, I cannot believe you had the audacity in my head, right? This is what I'm thinking, like, to even say that, like, but here I am, like, probably looking at them like sideways crazy. You actually said that, and it's like, silence really is a much better reaction. And what I mean, it's just kill them with kindness. I really mean that. And as much as I can be reactive, it's like, but if you kill them with kindness, there's really not much that they can come back to you with. Like, what are they going to talk shit about you of? Like, oh, she smiled back at me, like, oh, she told me, have a good day. Like, you can't really, talk bad about someone that didn't say anything bad. So it's more on, like, if you really, really want to open the door, the freaking can of worms of the fight, then so be it, right? Like, you already know what is about to happen. Maybe it's needed to be said. Maybe it's done. This person has done so much to you, and this was just kind of the last straw, and you had to maybe speak up. Then maybe it was your time to maybe say your word, but you will also be aware that that's going to probably cause a lot of problems for that night. So it's, again, knowing, is that worth messing up your night, messing up other people's nights? Because
you're going to cop it whichever way you go. So what I mean by that is there's going to be situations where if people know that you're typically usually on health, train, but then you actually indulge at this setting, they might be asking you questions about, oh, well, should you even be eating that? And, oh, I can't believe you're actually eating that. And they'll make these comments that seem so innocent, but are so loaded. It's like, literally, it is a cocked and aimed rifle. And then there'll be the flip side to that, where it will be like, well, why can't you eat what we're eating? Why do you need to bring that? Why did you need to bring that meal? And aren't you going to eat all these other things? And I made this specifically for you because I know it's your favorite 5 million calorie cheesecake in front of you. You know what I mean? Like, they're the things I think be prepared for. And I just know that if you are aware that that might happen for you, just into it, with a little bit of a little bit of bubble wrap on yourself, so that it does give you that level of protection and ability to, as Steph said, you know, remain silent, even if you might be thinking, hey, a big middle finger to you, mate, in your head. You don't necessarily need to give them one. You don't need to give them
there's a difference if you go to your best friend and you say, man, I can't believe this douchebag, you know, said this
exactly.
to me. Like, it's just completely different. Like, you really feel a certain way, but people are lashing out on you because of what they feel about themselves.
Right.
So the more you continue giving into that, the more you're actually, you know, stooping down to their level. So it's like, you just gotta continue like brushing those things off and not let it get to you. And if they make smart, snarty remarks, you know, they're probably jealous of you, and so be it. Like, just means that they're you know, actually very, very envious of you carrying a very healthy life, or the fact that you care about your body, or that you actually, you know, give a damn about your health. Oh my gosh, like that is just such a outstanding thing for some individuals. It's like, why would you do such a thing? It's like, oh, because I want to live a long life, and I actually care what I look like and what I feel like. And of course, we don't have to react this way. It's just they're doing it with these, you know, intentions. And it's we just need to kind of understand that a lot of people will never understand why you do what you do. People in your community, like probably listeners on this podcast, you know, people within our, you know, just team, everything, like they'll understand why you do what you do. And those are the people that are your people. As much as we've actually talked on this topic, it's family is who you claim to be your family. It doesn't mean that it's just because they're blood that they're actually, let's say, the best family. And I'm a family person. Let me tell you, if you want my blood, I'll freaking die for you. But it's still one of those things that I have people that aren't blood and I'll freaking die for, because I call them family and I consider them family. So it's just really understanding that some family members are just very, let's say, let's just put that they don't love themselves. But they don't love themselves, right? They don't love themselves. So how are they going to ever really show any type of love to anyone else? So just knowing that, and I'm sure you already know these people are just negative and are always going to have something bad to say, or always just be a Debbie Downer. Well, let's stay away from these people. I'm like running away. It's like they could be in the same place, but I'm going to be in a completely different part of the whole room. So I'll be in the kitchen, you'll be in the living room, and vice versa. So it's, you know, keep your distance, you know, keep your words to yourself, and find, you know, people that are uplifting, that are actually, you know, positive, and maybe are inspired, because you never know who you're actually inspiring. So remember that during these holidays, when you think that, oh, this is maybe I should take a break. I don't want people to think I'm being weird by prepping my meals, or I don't want people to think, oh, she's crazy. What does she think? She's going to become a competitor? Like, I think that's actually the most like demeaning thing that people can say to you. It's like, no matter where you are in your journey, you can do what you set out to do.
You want.
Whatever you want.
Whatever you want.
So that's my, I guess, take on that, Ali.
And I also think too, you know, one of the things that, you know, I always look at around this time of the year, and I'm very aware of, is that it's not always a joyful time for everyone. And there are people out there that are, you know, suffering from the fact that they've lost maybe a substantial number of their family members, or they've gone through family breakups and breakdowns, and they're in conflict. And so they may not necessarily have that connection and community and family, you know, period for them. So whenever I sort of see that, or I know of anyone in that position, I always reach out. I always try to give them a connection point, and I always just try to invite them to anything that I might have on, or even if it's just to a morning event, or it's just some sort of activity that I'm going to go do with some people close to me or my family. I'll try to include people that might not be so, you know, blessed at that time of the year. And I try to remain very aware of those situations, because it really is quite a lonely time for a lot of people, you know.
Those that don't have close family, or don't feel like, you know, I don't have that tight knit, maybe, you know, type of community even. So that's or
they
like
might even be living in a foreign country, you know, like, and I've had that situation before where I've invited, you know, people in my team to come and do things with us at different times because they're living in a completely foreign country and all of their family are away and they're unable to even see them for the holidays, you know. So I just always encourage anyone listening to this to maybe think a little bit beyond your own front door and back door and think about others at this time of the year too, because I think it is just the best time of the year, but it can be for some people the worst. And I think, you know, just respecting that not everyone may be having the opportunities you've got, and maybe just pull some people in the fold, because some people could really use that. But I hope that a lot of what we've talked about has helped and if not, given you a giggle, because there's you know, plenty of stuff that can be like, you know, laughed at this time of the year for sure. And I think there's plenty of fun to be had, and you don't need to throw the baby out with the bathwater. We're not asking anyone at this point in time to be a perfectionist, because there's no need for it either. You know, just living a solid level of balance with an 80-20 principle throughout this period is really all you should be looking to do. And like we've talked about, just to recap, you know, think about the and acknowledge the challenges you're going to face, right? Be aware of them. Then think about the situations, social events that are going to serve you, that you want to participate in, the ones that you're going to get white girl wasted at and or, you know, go sideways on or not. And there's no harm in either of those, as long as you're honest, you're aware, and then set the boundaries, have strategies, explore options for healthy food choices and the decision making and preparation for that. Be present and have levels of deflection where you need it, where you might need to protect yourself from unwanted and or potentially insensitive commentary, because, you know, let's face it, it's just that time of the year. It's going to be where they will come. And try to include others less fortunate than you in things that you're doing, because I just think that's a good human thing to do for everyone.
It is about giving. I think the holidays, I mean, one thing that we have to remember too is, I mean, it's not just a Christmas thing. I think it's more like, this is a giving season, and it's the time that you can actually tell people you're grateful for them and let them know you love them and spend time with them. And that's the best gift that you can give someone. It's by just genuinely being present is the best present. And I think that that's really what we forget, because all year we're just, you know, go. And it's, we're very selfish, you know, throughout the year. And I think that this is a good time to, you give back, or, you know, maybe donate, or even, you know, like you said, invite people that are a little less unfortunate, or have no community or have no family.
Correct.
Great tip. And I think for those that might be still having some anxiety over the nutrition and like, man, but Ali, I can't track 100%. Like, you know, I feel like I'm anxious for the tracking. It's just relax. If you still need to do some tracking, just do a food diary. Well, I always say, like, a good way to not lose like a whole, you know, tracking systems, or thinking that you actually have to go and figure out what calorie or amount with your weight scale or anything is, just like maybe take a picture. That's a good food diary.
Great one.
Rather than just having to write it down. I mean, that's a good way to do a food diary, but like, who are you in the middle? Like, you're going to make yourself even worse talking topic. Look at her entering, you know, right? Her stuff, which is fine, but this is still going back to that conversation that we were just referring to. It's like, people don't understand why you do what you do, but then you might actually teach them how to do it, which is cool. So just food diary, right? If you're having those, or if you want to just relax and actually have a moment, but don't go crazy. It's just, don't overindulge. It's just like, you know, really, really listen to those cues. Don't be me at the freaking Brazilian steakhouse. So you just
Mate, I love the Brazilian steakhouses, and I love the Korean barbecues. They're the best. And I'm the same as you. You know why you feel like crap? You just have so much protein, and you get the thermic meat sweats. You get
so much steak and lamb and just oh my God, blank and all the things. So enjoy, guys. Please enjoy your foods, enjoy your family. I really want everyone to be present and not have too much anxiety over this, but I still want you to set yourself up for a new year, you know, to hit the ground running and not to be in this man, what the fuck did I do to myself kind of attitude when the new year comes. So I hope this episode helps to kind of, you know, plan out and organize these next few weeks for you guys. And we'll be doing, you know, some more topics here soon.
We would love to hear any additional tips or things that have helped you navigate social settings and festive. Well, I just call it the silly season because I feel like everyone gets silly at this time. We would love to hear about it. So, please, by all means, share this episode. Share with us some of the things that you find really helpful and really good tips throughout this time, because we will share them across our platforms and share them with our respective audience as well. And more than anything, just have fun this Christmas, literally just have fun. And
Ellie, I wish we could spend Christmas together. I wish I could see the freaking baby bump
at some point.
I'm going to be able to meet baby girl next time, because you're going to be getting her, bursting very soon.
Coming around the corner before we know it. I'm just trying to survive the rest of this pregnancy through my Christmas, and then she'll be with us, literally just
I'm
after.
so excited for you guys. Well, everyone, thank you so much for listening. Thank you for tuning in. Hope you guys have an amazing holiday season. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year's to everybody. Thank you guys.
Next time.
Love you.
Love you too.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, babe.